I'm going to show you how to make a fuchsia using our 2-piece fuchsia cutter. I start off with some medium head stamens, one of them which is longer than the rest. I have 5 stamen heads here. For the long headed one, the long stemmed one, I add a tiny piece of paste. If you just put a little glue onto this, flatten the piece of paste down, put a tiny piece of glue on, take your stamen, press it in, lift it and twist. Now at this stage I twist and then I will decide if it's too big and then pinch a piece off. Now I would let this dry because it's easier to work with if you let it dry. I take the whole lot, put together like so, take some tape and I tape around, not quite to the bottom but quite far down, just past the middle. I take a 26 gauge wire and I'm going to have it hooked. I'm going to hook that over the tape, and now I will bring the tape quite far down the wire like so. When this is ready and this is dried off, I will colour this up, and I colour it up according to whatever colour fuchsia I'm going to make. So in the background here I've got some dark red dust, some ready done fuchsias that I've already dusted, and there's my piece that I've allowed to dry. Pop on the side. Now with the ivory colour, I'm going to roll and do the inside of the fuchsia. Now you can do a double fuchsia, and which you would do 2 of these. You could do 3 of them if you want, but 2 is usually plenty enough. You want to do this fairly fine, so get this paste as fine as you can get it, and if you roll, the smaller the piece of paste you roll, the finer you can roll it. Take your inside piece and move, make sure it moves so that it's nice and clean inside the cutter. Now I'm going to do this in an unusual way, because what I actually do, I soften each petal, but 1, 2, soften, so that's 4 of them softened, and into the middle I ball this so you can see the petal taking shape. So I'll do 1, 2, but I want these 2 to be the same shape as these 2, so I actually turn this over, let it dry slightly, and now they're all cut. Take your knife and scriber and a little glue. Now I just put a little glue straight across the center, and I'm going to turn these petals so they're just slightly skew from one another. Again, I'm going to put a little glue just along the bottom, put my wire into it, press the wire down, and you can pick the whole lot up, and that's, you then wrap these around the wire, and when they're dry you'll have your centers done. This is the back part of the fuchsia. Now when I do this, I like the paste to be a little piece on the dry side. If it's a little bit tacky, a little bit soft, don't be scared to let it stay out in the open for a little while. I'm going to do this so that I have a Mexican hat, but I want the back of the Mexican hat to be fairly pointed. And now I'm going to press. Now I need this piece in here to be thin enough so that this is going to cut it. So as you work with your fingers, make sure that you make that nice and fine inside. Okay. And then roll. You can see what I'm using to roll, because the end of a paintbrush, you can use a thin rolling pin, piece of doweling. I am using the veining tool, which works quite nicely as a mini rolling pin. Make sure you've rolled it wide enough to take the hole right out to the points of your cutter. Pop that over, put your fingers right onto it and move the cutter. Pop out with the help of one of your tools and tidy up the back. Okay. I'm going to use the bone tool, and I'm going from the center to the point on each side and softening each side of the petal. You don't want to put it too out of shape, but don't worry if the petal moves. You'll notice I don't hold the paste. I allow the paste to move on the pad. It allows it to look more natural when you leave it like that. At this stage, I take this tool, and I'm going to use this part. So I turn it over and work downward, and work from the tip and pull inward. I'll just tidy that one up. Then as you pick this up, I'm going to use my knife and scriber, because it has that nice point on this end of it. And you can put a little tiny touch of white fat on this if you need to. And into the bottom, into the middle. Now each petal, push against the scriber and cup. And you can see what's happening. I'm cupping it up with my fingers and thumb till you have a nice hole inside and your petals have cupped up. I'm going to put a little glue in here and then insert the dried off center. Now I'm going to tidy up this back. So hold this piece and I'm going to tidy all this up. If you have too much paste, take it off at this stage. Much easier than trying to do it when it's gone dry. Hold again and turn. Remember, they have fairly long back on them. And again, hang to dry. What you actually want is just a little ball like this. And then if you cut the ball, then you have a flat side and a rounded side. Put your scriber tool into the flat side, but try not to distort that rounded end to it. And a little glue onto here, and that's your little weeny calyx. Onto the back of your flower. If you use a good quality flower paste, you can put all of these together and they won't break on you if you're careful, because there's a lot of tiny pieces that can break on them, but if you're careful enough they won't break. To make the insides, to make the larger buds, I take just a cone of paste, same colour. Again, insert the wire. Don't make it too long. And for the back, exactly the same, just soften this very lightly each one. And then I'm just going to just open this up a little. Now just to begin with, I'm just putting the glue on the bottom of the petals there. Bring it onto the cone, turn it upside down and work with it until you twist the petals really so that they stay together. If you need a little glue, use it. If you don't need it, then don't use it. You can see this is staying together without me using it. And I've just twisted it so that your bud just looks like it's about to open. And hang to dry. And for the second little bud, I just hold the bottom like so. Then take this knife and scriber and just go around the top, turn it around and around the top. So you have a little square on the top. Hang that on there. For the leaves, I've actually used the rose leaf cutter. Put my paste on. I've got a nice pale green paste. Turn over and cut. Now you'll see I do cut the same size and put them on a 28 gauge wire. And insert. Now I'm going to vein these. Again, I'm using my another veiner to press on top. It just stops my fingerprints being on, and it also gets rid of the ridge that was there. Now for this one, because I want it to elongate a little, I'm going to work again from the wire to the tip of it. So I'm pulling down and elongating. Pick it up, pinch like that. You've got the vein on that side of it. I'm going to push the leaf back so that it's turning and it's curved backwards, and allow these to dry. I've got red tape here. I cut the tape into 3, up to the top, down it goes, and work in to your leaves. And then of course your bigger buds can be worked in further down and become droopy. Don't tape them in too tight, because otherwise they look strangled and they won't have that droopy look to them. Go about halfway down your wire before you bring it in. Tape on. Bring a leaf or two in. And then allow the flower to come in. And again, allow it about halfway down and allow it to be droopy and like so. This is a finished spray, and then I put several together to create the infusion of fuchsias coming from my cake.